Oh boy, it's summer. Time for a bunch of cool games to get announced. What? More zombies? These aren't even games. This is a car commercial. With summer here and the major showcase is finally over, I can confidently say that the next few years of AAA gaming looks rough. Summer Game Fest and the PlayStation Showcase showed about 5 or 6 good games throughout their whole shows, most of which were things we already knew about, like Spider-Man 2 and Mortal Kombat 1. These are great looking games, but when surrounded by so much filler and just so few surprises, it really lessens the impact of these announcements. Sony's dive into live service games is especially disheartening. In the past decade, Sony has become the AAA single-player publisher with games like God of War, The Last of Us, and Uncharted. A new Bungie game? Wow, I'm so excited to see what the campaign looks like. There is no campaign. It's multiplayer focused. Square Enix is making Splatoon, but worse in every single way. Sony is putting most of its development into live service games, most of which are complete failures and never catch on. I am very, very sad.
How could this happen to me? I made my mistakes, got nowhere to run. The night goes on as I'm fading away.
That isn't to say I want these games to fail, but Sony is hopping on this trend about 5 years too late. Most gamers that want to play live service games are already entrenched in Fortnite or Destiny or whatever game they're currently playing. Betting on getting a piece of that ever-shrinking pie is short-sighted at best and disastrous at worst. Most of these trailers didn't even have gameplay to show off, so you can't even see if any of these games do anything unique or not. This showcase is the exact opposite of what I wanted from Sony, with no new first-party single-player games. After Spider-Man this fall, what is there to look forward to from them? Naughty Dog's Last of Us multiplayer seems like a mess that should probably be abandoned. We know nothing of what Sucker Punch is doing next. After delivering the best group of games for this generation so far, Sony seems to be fumbling the bag. Nintendo clearly has nothing after Pikmin 4 this year, as they didn't even bother to show up to anything. They do get a slight pass with Tears of the Kingdom being every bit as good as the hype, but if there's no new console next year, it's gonna be a rough time to be a Nintendo fan. While not as disappointing as Sony's showing, Summer Game Fest was also kind of a flop. While they did have a few surprises, Sonic Superstars looks fun, nothing they showed was particularly groundbreaking. Alan Wake 2 and Mortal Kombat 1 look good, just as we thought they would. I've tried to get into the modern day Final Fantasy games, but as soon as the characters speak...
Wow, just look at it all. It's so green. Even after everything we've done to it, it's still going strong.
Man, I'm out. Prince of Persia could be cool, but I don't know. When the highlight of your presentation is an interview with Nick Cage, your games presentation might be severely lacking in games. Ubisoft has made about 5 games I've liked in the past decade, so while Avatar and Star Wars have these cool, flashy trailers, I can't trust Ubisoft to abandon their open-world game design that has been stale since, like, the 4th Assassin's Creed game. The gameplay loop of Avatar looks especially generic and seems to rely on outpost capture way too much. Star Wars looks a little more promising, but the in-game dialogue sounds like Forspoken, and it's a Ubisoft open world, so my hopes aren't high, but I would love to eat my words. I love Star Wars. X-Defiant could also be okay despite having the worst title yet created. At least it looks like they are trying to launch a live service game with sufficient content. Call of Duty. Overwatch 2. I wish Ubisoft San Francisco would just make another South Park game instead. Prince of Persia definitely looks pretty damn cool after this gameplay trailer, but that's just one game. Capcom didn't have much to show, which is a shame since they've been one of the best developers the past few years. With Microsoft on the ropes after Redfall's abysmal launch and the lack of any killer app for the Xbox Series X, I didn't expect much from the Xbox showcase. However, Microsoft came out swinging with games. Games that aren't live service. Games that don't look like you grind for loot. No movie or TV trailers. Actual video games. Now, many of their best announcements didn't have gameplay shown off, so we had to take that with a grain of salt. I will never forget you, Metroid Prime 4 and Elder Scrolls 6.
Maybe we got lost in translation. Maybe I asked for too much, but maybe this thing was a masterpiece till you tore it all up.
Microsoft clearly brought out their big guns. Their showcase was the exact opposite of Sony. Most of these look like video games instead of ways to just take more money from people. Microsoft studios just don't have the track record that Sony has in the past decade. No Xbox exclusive has even remotely been on par with Sony's output, and that's major reason for concern. But if Starfield works on a technical level and has a compelling story, that would be a major step in the right direction. Xbox is actually taking these swings. It's starting to feel like the middle of the Xbox 360 PS3 generation, except Xbox is the one that might come out on top in the end. Starfield still needs to be that killer app that God of War or Zelda was for Sony and Nintendo, but Xbox seems to be the only company that's actually trying to create that for the next couple of years. Do I trust Xbox to deliver? Much less than Sony or Nintendo, and honestly, I don't trust them at this moment, but they're kind of the only hope we have left, because right now if they don't, it's going to be a rough couple of years to love video games that aren't live service and that aren't looter shooters. I guess what I'm trying to say is, hopefully Starfield is really fun.